What's going on, YouTube? What's going on, Facebook? I hope you're having a beautiful day. And I want to talk about something that Fauci said in the news recently. It's very, 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 very important. We talked about last year. Dr. Ezike out of Illinois said this last year. Dr. Birx actually said it, but a lot of people don't pay attention. So we're going to re-highlight it today because Dr. Fauci is now admitting it on television and trying to explain why there's more children with COVID. And I'm going to play the clip. There's a few reasons, but the one I want to highlight is he said the second reason is, a lot of people or a lot of children are in the hospital with COVID, but not from COVID. And this is so, so, so important to understand everything, to understand the case count, the death count, how they're counting. I mean, between the tests they're using, the metrics they're using in some states, I don't know if you guys remember, but last year I did a very deep dive informative video showing the exactly how they're testing. In some states you could test positive. I don't know if they're still doing this, but last year they were. You don't even need a test if you have 2 out of 3 things that they consider enough to give you a positive test, and they'll give you a positive test. So it's something to consider, it's something to think. And without further ado, I'm probably going to let the clip play right now, and that's what it is. Hopefully people like this video. And I got a few clips of Elon Musk saying this in 2020 on Joe Rogan's podcast, Dr. Birx saying this in 2020 on the coronavirus task force, and also Dr. Ngozi Ezike from Illinois, I believe she's the public health director, explaining exactly how the death count works. I don't understand why people never took the time to learn this, but I think it's a even easier way to learn it now that Dr. Fauci's on left-wing news admitting exactly what we've been trying to tell people for a while. So this is him explaining why children, one of the reasons that children are, in hospitals right now with COVID.
But the other important thing is that if you look at the children who are hospitalized, many of them are hospitalized with COVID as opposed to because of COVID. And what we mean by that, if a child goes in the hospital, they automatically get tested for COVID, and they get counted as a COVID hospitalized individual, when in fact they may go in for a broken leg or appendicitis or something like that. So it's overcounting the number of children who are, quote, hospitalized with COVID as opposed to because of COVID.
So he said they're overcounting the number of kids that are hospitalized with COVID because they're conflating the numbers of with COVID and from COVID. Here's Dr. Birx from last year explaining the same thing. And I just want to say this. I don't have to do this because it's my show. I could say what I want. I could ignore comments. But I think people like to watch my show because I really interact with people. I answer questions, people that agree with me, disagree with me. People are interested in that. I saw someone write, aligning yourself with Elon Musk isn't a wise move. And I don't even have to talk about it, but I think it makes the show more interesting. I point out things that I like. I point out things that I don't like. I don't like Dr. Anthony Fauci, but I do agree with him there. So I want to highlight that because I don't agree with most of what he says, or I don't I don't trust him. But if he's willing to go on television and say, hey, the cases are being overblown because kids with COVID and, hospitalized with COVID as opposed to from COVID, it's a 2 separate topic. That's what I do here. So just because I highlight a clip from Elon Musk, it doesn't mean we're hanging out, building rockets and putting microchips in people's heads. So it's like the people that are trying to control me by veiled, I don't want to say like threats, but like, oh, I hate you if you agree with Elon Musk on a topic. It's like, get over yourself. That's what I do here. I analyze the news. I like to highlight things I agree with, and I do believe in positive reinforcement. I think it's good to show people what you do agree with and incentivize them and, congratulate them when they do the right thing. And hopefully that leads them to do it. So, without further ado, here's Dr. Birx saying that with the coronavirus task force last year, explaining how the deaths from COVID work.
Other countries that if you had a pre-existing condition, and let's say the virus caused you to go to the ICU and then have a heart or kidney problem, some countries are recording that as a heart issue or a kidney issue and not a COVID-19 death. Right now, we're still recording it, and the great thing about having forms that come in and a form that has the ability to mark it as COVID-19 infection, the intent is right now that if someone dies with COVID-19, we are counting that.
So
as a COVID-19 death.
this is very, very important. Fauci just revealed on the media yesterday or recently that you shouldn't freak out about children in hospitals that have COVID, because a lot of them are not being hospitalized from COVID. They're being hospitalized. And when you go to the hospital, they test everybody. So they're testing positive with COVID, yet they have other things that are a bigger deal. And Dr. Birx told you last year, this is very important. We're going to piece this puzzle together. She told you last year that the death count was a very liberal death count, meaning we're not just analyzing this person was killed by COVID-19. It's this person died and had COVID-19. They are not separating in the death count whether or not COVID-19 pushed them over the edge or not. She admits that. Listen to the reporter push back against her, and she doesn't even answer the question. She goes and talks about like West Virginia or like smaller states versus like rural states versus cities and stuff. I was like, what? Like, listen to the pushback and listen to her nonsensical response.
Can you be sure? I mean, you hear from coroners that that's not necessarily the case. Or are you sure? How can you be confident about that? And is there any concern that it skews the data that you're trying to collect in terms of projections and things like that?
Well, I think that would apply more to rural areas that may not have the same level of testing, but I am pretty confident
It's nothing to do.
And in New Jersey.
Nothing to do with what she asked.
These large outbreaks.
What is it?
COVID-only hospitals. I can tell you they are testing. New York and New Jersey together have, by proportion, are testing extraordinarily well.
Her answer had nothing to do with the question. She said every death with COVID is being registered as a death by COVID. And then the lady's like, how can you be sure that the coroner's being accurate? And she's like, well, you know, we're sure that there's a lot of testing in New Jersey and New York. It's like, what does that have to do with the
Louisiana?
You get what I'm saying?
I don't see that there's been a barrier in testing to diagnosis.
All right, so this next clip real quick, very important. This is Dr. Ezike, I think her name is Ngozi Ezike, the Illinois Department of Public Health Director. This was a clip that I posted on Twitter and it went viral because I just said, hey, folks, listen to how they're diagnosing deaths. I'm just telling people, like, if you're going to go along with this whole thing, if they're going to shut your country down, if they're going to shut your business down, shut your gym down, shut your spa down, shut your nail salon down, you know, print trillions of dollars and tell everybody that they're getting $1,200. Like, this is like the biggest energy shift and policy shift in my lifetime. I've never seen the world change like this since the time I was young. Don't you think you should pay attention? That's all I'm asking. You don't have to like me. You don't have to agree with me. I don't care who you vote for, although obviously there's better candidates than others. I don't care if you don't vote at all. I don't care if you're a libertarian or an anarchist. Like, shouldn't you know how they're doing all this? They're using tests that now I'm going to read real quick before I play this clip. This is from ABC News this week. It says, latest, the newly CDC updated guidelines don't require testing at the end of isolation because PCR tests can stay positive for up to 12 weeks. So they're now admitting that PCR tests can stay positive for up to 12 weeks. Everybody dead from COVID is dead with COVID, or dead with COVID is dead from COVID. And they're not making a different list to tell you, well, this person had 5 comorbidities and they were going to die anyway. And this person, like, COVID put them over the edge, or it's the only thing they found. They're not really even trying to explain that to you. In some cases, you know, they're just putting these lists on CNN and everybody's freaking out. I don't get why people wouldn't want to learn this stuff. Listen to what she says. This is Dr. Ezike, the public, let me just get the label right, public health director in Illinois. Listen.
In terms of the definition of people dying of COVID. So the case definition is very simplistic. It means at the time of death, it was a COVID positive diagnosis. So that means that if you were in hospice and had already been given, you know, a few weeks to live, and then you also were found to have COVID, that would be counted as a COVID death. It means that if technically, even if you died of a clear alternate cause, but you had COVID at the same time, it's still listed as a COVID death. So everyone who's listed as a COVID death doesn't mean that that was the cause of the death, but they had COVID at the time of death. I hope that's helpful.
Oh, it's very, very helpful. I don't know what that, it's very helpful because you're putting PCR tests up people's nose that now the CDC is saying can stay positive for up to 12 weeks. You're using that as a justification to shut down businesses and shut down print trillions of dollars. And then you're admitting that even if we're 100% sure that somebody dies of an alternate cause but tests positive for COVID, they're still going on the COVID-19 positive list. And Fauci waits a long time to be like, now there's record high cases. Biden's administration is a failure. Everybody knows it. They're down in the polls. Republicans are set to win the House and the Senate back by a landslide. So now all of a sudden they sound like us. You have Jennifer Rubin saying the same thing I said a year ago. You have Chris Hayes comparing it to the flu, which was before a sentence against your social media account if you were to say it. And then you have Dr. Fauci saying what we were trying to say last year, which is, every case with COVID or hospitalization with COVID or death with COVID is a death testing positive on a test with COVID, not a death from COVID. These are two different things that they didn't ever even really care to separate or try to explain to people. And now all of a sudden they are, because it's convenient politically for Biden to not look like a failure and open up, and people are freaking out because the guy pretty much sold a lot of boomers and older people and younger people on COVID's bad, Trump's bad. I have a solution for COVID. It's like, did you though? So here's Elon Musk on Joe Rogan. I actually, I don't align myself with Elon Musk. I tweeted a video of Dr. Ezike, and Elon actually responded to it and said it would be helpful if they separated cases and deaths with COVID and from COVID. And then he went on Rogan and said that to the biggest audience on the planet, which is dope. I mean, you don't have to plant a computer chip in your head and freak out at me to admit that it's good to have people of his stature trying to tell people this information that we've been saying for a long time. This was him last year explaining what I just said. And going even further,
helpful just to add from an informational level is when reporting sort of COVID cases, to separate out diagnosed with COVID versus had COVID-like symptoms.
Yes.
Because the list of symptoms that could be COVID at this point is like a mile long. So it's like hard to, if you're ill at all, it's like it could be COVID. So just to give you better information. Definitely diagnosed with COVID or had COVID-like symptoms.
And real quick, he's going to go even further. But if you watch my video, how are they counting cases? I don't know if you could find it. It's on YouTube. It's on Facebook. I'll try to re-upload it to BitChute and Rumble and stuff if it's not already there. But I explained not only can you get tested positive like he's saying, oh, you have this symptom. It's not just a PCR test that's testing people positive. In certain states, they literally have a list. I did a whole list of exactly, this is not my opinion. This is not a theory. I had a mainstream ABC article where they talked about the actual government policy, where they had a list of 3 different categories. If you had a runny nose, if you had a cough, and then you were around somebody with COVID and you talked to the right doctor, in certain states, they could test you positive. This was last year. I don't know if they're still doing it. They could give you a positive test diagnosis with never even had take a test. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is not something I made up. This is mainstream articles and mainstream government, policy. That's what Elon was trying to say. Is like, they're saying these are all symptoms of COVID. We're not saying people aren't getting sick, but you could literally get positive with COVID-19 for having basic symptoms if you have enough of them, and tell a doctor that you were in the vicinity of somebody else who tests positive. This is how loosely they were counting. And let's listen more to how loosely they were counting further when it comes to cases and deaths. I mean, I don't understand why people, first of all, weren't paying attention to this. And I can't understand why, well, I know because a bunch of Republicans are fake, but why they weren't shouting this at every press conference, every coronavirus task force. They should have been explaining this and pushing back against the narrative. And maybe our country would be a little more free now. But let's listen.
We're conflating those two, so that it looks bigger than it is. Then if somebody dies, was COVID a primary cause of the death or not? If somebody has COVID, gets eaten by a shark, we find their arm has COVID, it's going to get recorded as a COVID death.
Is that real?
Basically,
not that bad, but heart attacks, strokes,
you get hit by a bus,
cancer.
If you get hit by a bus, go to the hospital and die, and they find that you have COVID, you will be recorded as a COVID death.
Why would they do that though?
Elon said this last, I believe, April. He was one of the earliest people on it. I was one of the earliest people on it. I'm not trying to brag, but it's not like, I don't care if you're Russell Brand, Naomi Wolf. I don't care if you're like a full-blown Marxist. Like I don't think it's a great policy for the time we live in, but in general or ever. But it's like, this is crunch time for America. We're locked down. What we needed was people like Elon, pushing this information out to explain to people they are brainwashing you into being afraid instead of being educated. You could still be cautious. You could still be like nervous to get sick. But if it's based on things that don't make sense, everybody's like, get a test, do this, do this. Nobody knows anything. And he was trying to explain, this is how they're counting cases. This is how they're counting deaths. This is what they're using to shut down the country. This is what they're using to print money. So if you don't get to the root of this issue, which is the case counting and the death counting, which is what they are using, whether it be one in New Zealand or, an Omicron case in California, they can do it over one case or one death or 100 cases or 1,000. So it's a never ending hamster wheel until people realize this. And then Elon even went further, and he was talking about how hospitals were getting paid per, case or death. So he was saying when they're in a bind, he wouldn't be shocked if this was a tough decision for them. Let's listen more.
Well, right now, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I mean, it's mostly paved with bad intentions, but there is, some good intentions paving stones in there too. And the stimulus bill that was intended to help with the hospitals that were being overrun with COVID patients created an incentive to record something as COVID that is difficult to say no to, especially if your hospital is going bankrupt for lack of other patients. So the hospitals are in a bind right now. There's a bunch of hospitals they're furloughing doctors, as you were mentioning. If your hospital's half full, it's hard to make ends meet. So now you've got if I just check this box, I get $8,000, and put them on a ventilator for 5 minutes, I get $39,000.
I mean, spot the lie. He's totally right about that. And in general, I'm going to move this out of the way and get in the center. This is the big scoop. It's been the big scoop since April. I'm just glad that the, Biden administration is talking about it now. And this is not for sure, because this is just my opinion, but it's based on evidence. I think they're doing this because he's down in the polls. He looks like a fool. The cases are going up. It's winter. People are more sick. And I don't want to say severely sick, but I can see in my real world that people are actually sick this winter, even more than last winter. It's real. People are getting sick. And he really kind of ran on the policy of Trump's bad, I'll defeat COVID. And the whole thing was a lie. So now they're all backpedaling. And 2 years later, admitting the truth for the wrong reasons. But you got Fauci on television saying that don't worry about kids hospitalized because, they're hospitalized not from COVID, but with COVID. Why didn't they tell people that last year? You got people still freaking out thinking kids are dropping dead on the streets, because if you watch television, that's what they're telling you. I mean, I can't remember which liberal news it was for 5 minutes. If I were like a suburban mom who watched this news station, I would literally think kids were just dropping dead left and right, and it was just like murdering them like the plague, because that's the narrative they did. But now it's not convenient to do that narrative because they're sinking in polls for the House. They're set to lose in a landslide, a red wave. That's just the betting odds. That's not my opinion. They're massive underdogs right now. So now all of a sudden they think it's politically and socially convenient to just reject all this at the height of cases. Now all of a sudden it doesn't matter. They waited until there was record number cases to say what we've all been saying last year, which is, first of all, in certain states, I don't know if they're still doing it. I would guess so, but I'm positive last year, you didn't even need a test to test positive in certain states. You just needed a cough, a few symptoms that are very common among people who don't, are ill, or some people who just don't take care of themselves. And then just tell a certain doctor that you were in the vicinity or around somebody with COVID, and they could give you a positive test with never even receiving a test. Now let's move to one of the most common, if not the most common test for coronavirus, the PCR test, in which the inventor said is not used to diagnose sickness, in which you're not allowed to quote him because they'll delete your video, even though that's literally what the inventor said. But 2 years later, after censoring videos about the inventor, Kary Mullis, now the CDC director comes out and says something different, but eerily similar, that the PCR test shouldn't be used to end isolation because that test could stay positive for up to 12 weeks. So you have people who could test positive with never even having a test, people who could test positive with a test that could stay positive for up to 12 weeks, even if you're not positive. And then they're using those positive cases to fearmonger, using those positive cases to shut the state down, using those positive cases to then make a correlation that is not true among the deaths by COVID, instead of being honest and saying, well, this person died from this, but they tested positive for COVID as well, and trying to be clear about, well, this is a group of people, we're pretty sure they were going to die anyway. This is a group of people that didn't have anything else, so we think that's what did it. And then this group of people is a gray area where they did have other stuff, but this might have put them over the edge. They made no attempt to do that. And when you listen to these people on television, they make no attempt to be honest about it. I don't sit here and fearmonger about people who are vaccinated or unvaccinated or this or that. They want this narrative to be like, if you're unvaccinated, you're screwed. If you're vaccinated, you're great. They don't want to admit the truth that most people who get Omicron that are unvaccinated are going to be fine. You know, even it's like they don't even talk about, treatments and monoclonal antibodies. In some cases, it's like they're so focused on tests and so focused on vaccines, they're not worried about treatment before hospitalizations for people who are vaccinated or unvaccinated, because there's still going to be tens of thousands of people who get sick who need a treatment. They don't just need to be, carted off to the hospital 3 weeks later when they're suffering and thrown on a ventilator. There's got to be a better way. There is a better way, but they're not interested in the full scope of being, selling the product that they want to sell, but still worrying about the 7 other things involved. It's like the whole scheme from the beginning has been a complete overreaction, money grab, power grab, and it's so obvious. I don't want to harp on it too much, but just to wrap it up, Fauci admitted what myself, Dr. Birx, Dr. Zeke, and Elon Musk said last year, clearly explaining how cases with COVID and hospitalizations with COVID does not mean you were hospitalized from COVID. And the only reason he's telling you this now is because it's politically convenient for them, because their administration's in power, people like Joe Biden, who they're more closely aligned with and want to be in power, and they're not doing well. So they waited until they screwed up the most to act like it's not even real, or it's just the flu. Like, this is rhetoric that they said was a right-wing conspiracy a year ago. How have people not woken up? And I have this information and I have the videos. And I think, in my opinion, and probably in a lot of people's opinions, the reason my videos are so good on COVID is not because I'm just sitting here saying what I think and what I want to happen and my opinions and my theories. I'm showing you mainstream ABC articles, mainstream government data, mainstream, this is the COVID policy. This is how they're testing. This is how they're counting. It's not my theory. That's why my videos do so well, because it's not about me or my ego or my hair, even though people might click because of the thumbnail or something. It's because the content of what I'm saying, I'm not just giving you my thoughts. I'm showing you the literal facts that this is how they're counting. You don't have to like me. You don't have to believe what I say, but go look it up for yourself then. You don't have to even watch my videos. Look it up and educate yourself on how they're counting cases and deaths, because they're using these cases and deaths to scare the crap out of you, put masks on your children, physically, mentally, psychologically, and financially abuse billions of people on this planet, and they don't have an end date. So I think it would be wise to educate yourself on this stuff, whether you like me or not, because this is affecting your life, your children's life, your grandparents' life, and there's no, plan to reverse it until apparently it's politically convenient to do so, which I don't care that they're phony. I don't care that they're a year late. I'm glad that they're trying to open the country. I'd rather them do that than spiral into like a communist lockdown hell like Australia. So although they're disingenuous, although they're dishonest, although none of these people are going to get my vote in the midterm election, I'm grateful that they finally have admitted to a large scale of their audience that everything we said last year is exactly right. And what Fauci and Lena Wen and these people are saying on television, you could watch my video from April last year. I said the same things and they cried about it, but whatever. I wanted to bring on real quick. Thank you guys. We got 875 on YouTube, 2,600 on Facebook, over 3,000. Appreciate y'all for being here. I want to switch notes real quick and talk about New Year's, tonight's New Year's. And I wanted to just kind of talk about what I do every New Year's, and hopefully it could help you or inspire you. Because a lot of people say you shouldn't do this. You shouldn't criticize Trump. You shouldn't, compliment Elon Musk. You should talk about this. You should talk about it. Like, everybody wants to control me and what I do. But if you watch this is not just simply like a political channel where I talk about the same thing all the time. I focus on medical tyranny because I think it's important. I talk about health. I talk about like mental health. I try to talk about things that are bigger than even politics, because at the end of the day, whether Biden or Trump or Obama or God forbid, like Kamala Harris or something was in power, you still got to work. You still got to, make ends meet. You still got to, exercise and stuff if you want to. I think it's probably wise. But in general, it's like there's certain things that are even more important, which is like self-awareness, self-accountability. And that's what my channel's about. If you don't like it and you have a problem with it, go make your other channel. But I don't sit and criticize you because you don't talk about what I talk about all the time. A lot of people they're angry and negative all the time. It's like, whatever. But anyway, I wanted to talk about New Year's because outside of politics and stuff, every New Year's I try to, I'm not like super organized about it, but I try to get better every year, and not like in like a narcissistic psycho way. Like I need to be like eat Jeff Bezos and have a robot and swim in the ocean with 20 women, that type of stuff. But I am like, okay, I don't want to get in my 30s and 40s and 50s. And I don't want to, like ruin myself. I know that I like have a few years of prime left, and then it's going to be harder to maintain my body. Also with, strike while the iron's hot. When things are going well, it's good to capitalize and not like squander a good opportunity. But I try to look back and I want to be a better person every year. So I'm going to do later. I already have like a list, but I go through everything where it's like, I look back and it's like, I want to be stronger next year. I want to be like a little bit wiser. I always try to cut out bad habits in my life. I don't think anybody's perfect. Maybe some people say they are or something, but I'm not perfect. I'm sure nobody that watches this are. Maybe the Lord is watching and he's perfect. But in general, it's like, I don't think I can like be a perfect person, but I'm always like, can I go from like a bad habit from here to here? Can I cut it out and eventually just do it, better eating habits, better diet habits, better exercise habits? Not like, it doesn't have to be perfect, but I've made strides. I think if I look back to when I was 25 or 21 to 25, I made a lot of strides. And then I look at 25 to 30, I made a lot of strides. And now I'm 32. I always forget how old I am. That's how I'm getting old now. And I look back to when I was like 30 and I've made so many strides. And I look back to last year, I've made so many strides. So that's kind of what I try to do every year, is just make strides in the right direction. And I have with my diet. I used to just eat macaroni and cheese and bread all the time and just like eat like pizza Totino rolls. And now I eat way healthier. I drink smoothies. I have better habits. I smoked cigarettes for a little bit when I was young. I smoked way too much like blunts and stuff when I was in college. And now, it's like, I'm not telling people what to do. Like you have to give up everything and do everything, but I do like to improve and be like, oh, I'm a better person. I'm smarter. I'm wiser. I'm kinder. I'm, not doing this many things that is taking away from, what I'm trying to accomplish, and just like things that make me happy and healthy. So that's what I'm going to do at the end of the day. And I think it's kind of a cool thing to do every year. And hopefully it inspires some people to do it. You don't got to be perfect. You don't got to turn your whole life around. But I think it feels good to be like, all right, I'm going in the right direction. And especially as you get older into your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, it probably gets harder and harder and harder to turn it around in the right direction. So I try to think every year, be like, make sure I'm going in the right direction. Cause like, I don't want to spiral. And once you spiral, whether it be mentally, physically, whatever, it becomes very difficult to turn it around. So that's what I'm going to do. I have a little list of all sorts of things, finances, this, that I'm going to just write out and hopefully, steer. And next year I could do the same thing, look back and be like, all right, I had a great year. I accomplished a lot. I of course made some mistakes, but overall, I think net wise, I went in the right direction. And I'm sure there's going to be years where people have worse years and stuff, and slip up. But it's like, you don't ever, it's like a bull market or a bear market. I'm trying to have a bull market. So far, it's been bullish. I'm sure I'm going to have some obstacles along the way, but it becomes a bear market when you just keep going down. So that's the hope. It's like even the stock market, and the crypto, it goes down, but then it goes back up. Try to keep it moving up. That's not being perfect, but just, being self-aware, self-accountable, and trying to, not like spiral and just like, go in the wrong direction. That's my thoughts. Thank y'all. And I'll read some comments and stuff. While I'm looking at comments, I want to repeat this again. I don't want to keep saying it because I'm aware at this point. I have like 3,000 people here right now. When you have 3,000 people, there's 0% chance everyone's going to watch this and be like, dude, I agree with everything he says. I like everybody he likes. I would do the same thing he would do. I'm sure nobody feels that way, or most people don't. It's just not possible to be the exact same person. So recently, maybe because of success, or maybe because of certain things that I'm saying, I'm not really sure, But I've had a lot more people be like, if you don't say what I want you to say and you like this person, or you highlight this clip of this person, I'm going to assume that you like everything about them. I'm going to assume that you work for them. It's really annoying. And this happens not just from people that follow me. This happens from left-wing media, from right-wing media, from like the feds. Everybody wants to do this like guilt by association thing. It's like, if I was at an event and I took pictures with hundreds of people, do you think that I know everybody I'm taking a picture with? If someone says to me, Anomaly, I want to take a picture with you, I never say no. I don't care who the person is. I'm not doing a background check on them. So, I've had times where left-wing media or other situations, people are trying to blame me for pictures I've taken. And it's like, it's frustrating. It's not a huge deal, but it's like, people don't realize, it's like, everything I say, if I post a video of Fauci, I don't like Fauci. I'm pretty clear about that. But I will highlight something that I disagree with him if I want to talk about it and debate it. And I'll highlight something that I agree with him on if I think it's a good platform to show more people on both sides really what's going on. I don't have this ego that I hate Fauci so much that I'll never show a clip I agree with him on. We don't agree on much, but if he's going to tell the truth now because it's politically convenient, whatever. I'm going to use it as a vehicle to show people that I said that a year and a half ago. Same with Elon Musk. I think he's funny. I think he's definitely one of the realer billionaires out there who constantly gives value to the world in the sense of like valuable conversations, valuable discussions, valuable COVID backlash. It doesn't mean I agree with everything he's doing. I have no idea what he's doing in space. It's not my thing. That's not what I'm interested in when it comes to him. Neuralink is interesting technology that can obviously go wrong in the hands of the wrong people or in the head of the wrong people. I agree with that, but it gets tiresome. People being like, "Oh, well, you shared a clip. You're working with him. You shouldn't align yourself with him. You shouldn't say that. You should say this. Why aren't you saying what I'm saying all the time?" I don't do what you do. I play basketball. I work out. You know what I'm saying? I talk about this stuff. I'm not you. Okay. And I don't want to be you. And I don't want you to be me. But I don't run around and tell you not to make the content you make. You got people who talk about the same thing all the time, and they're like specialists in that value, in that department. That's just not what I want to do. That's not who I am. And I talk about things when I want to, not on demand, unless, I answer your question. And I find that a lot of people are like, starting to get really nasty towards me. And it's like, I listen to a lot of specialists, like, I like financial specialists. I listen to a lot of tutorials. I like a lot of business and motivational stuff. I like a lot of further political stuff that I don't personally specialize on, but I appreciate, and I listen to people who say a lot of things that I don't say. I'll talk about what I want to talk about, but there's just certain things, like, it's like if you're an athlete, you don't play every sport. Like, you're good at some and some of them you suck at, or it's not of interest to you. So that's kind of what my channel is. So I appreciate specialists for who they are, but I don't call like Dave Ramsey like a gatekeeper liar because he doesn't talk about, theories that matter to me. Like, that's not what he does. Like, for me, I do what I do. I do what I want. I'm open to, consideration of what you're saying. And I always listen and learn. And, a lot of what I do is inspired by what I see, so there's an easy way to inspire me. But, I think a lot of the overhype, it's to be expected, when you get to a certain level, but it is just kind of annoying. So I'm just being honest. That's how I feel. And people are talking about Tartaria. Someone said, talk about Tartaria, Anomaly, or you're CIA. I don't know if you're joking or not, but I'm totally out of the loop of Tartaria. Somebody mentioned it on my Instagram channel. I'm not even aware of what it is. I'll check it out since so many people seem to be interested in it, but I think you're probably joking because someone brought it up yesterday, but I'll check it out. I know you're joking, but some people literally do say stuff like that. They're like, you're CIA if you don't talk about, Anunnaki right now. And it's like, bro, my understanding of the Anunnaki people is like very limited. I understand the cave paintings and I understand the theory, but I'm not an expert on it. So I don't, someone brought up 9/11 the other day, and I think that guy made a whole like hate video on me, calling me cross-eyed or something, where it's like, bro, at the end of the day, what comes around goes around, and karma is real. So if you're doing it for good intentions and you're honest, then much love to you. But if you're just mad because I won't talk about what you want me to talk about when you want me to talk about it, it's disingenuous. It's not coming from a good place. And, it is what it is. But it's like something like 9/11. I'm not a full blown expert. I was inspired early on by what happened there and how I felt like something more deeper was happening. I did a lot of research. I watched documentaries. I used to rap about it in 2009 and 2010 and drop little, clues and stuff. But since then, I've heard other stuff. I've heard other theories. I've heard other countries that are complicit, etc. I'm not like a full blown expert. You could lie about me. You could, smear my name. You could literally just be dishonest about it and emotional about it. But I don't own the internet. I don't own YouTube. I run my own channel. I don't get bullied by anybody, the media or people in the comments. And, if you have that much hate in your heart that you want me to be a full blown expert or a person who sits here and talks about everything you want me to talk about all the time, like that's on you. That's something you're going to have to answer to at the end of the day. But a lot of people seem to be doing that to me recently, and it doesn't bother me or really throw me off, but I'm very transparent about how I feel and what I do, and I just want to let people know. Maybe they care, maybe they don't. Someone said, talk about three-legged dogs, LOL. I think they're cute, and it makes you seem like a better person than you are if you have a three-legged dog. You're like, I'm a good person. You're like, yeah, whatever. You're like, I'm taking care of a three-legged dog, and everyone's like, damn, you are a good person. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. I am not an expert on three-legged dogs. Someone said Betty White dead. No, is that true? That would suck. I love Betty White. Let me see. Betty White's such a legend. Please don't lie. Let me see. Betty White passed away. Damn, she almost made 100. That sucks. Rest in peace, Betty White. I have a Golden Girls shirt. Is that true? Yeah, Betty White, trailblazing TV. Man, rest in peace, Betty White. I love the Golden Girls. When I went to the Women's March with Fleckas, I filmed it for him one year. He needed help filming. Plus, I enjoyed doing it. When Fleckas used to live in LA, I filmed the Women's March, and it was crazy because like everybody loved me because I had a Golden Girl shirt on. Like I was trying to blend in. Everyone's like, yo, someone came up to me with like some sort of like socialist like shirt, and they're like, hey, Anomaly, I love your videos. I was like, you do? I'm like, that's dope though. I like when people that don't agree with my, policy choice listen to my videos. That's a good sign that they're, receptive. But my Golden Girl shirt was killing it at the Women's March. They were like, oh, you're one of us. You like women. I'm like, oh, for sure. I like all the Golden Girls. That's how much I love women. Come on. If you don't love Golden Girls, you're, what's it called? Sexist. Yeah. Rest in peace, Betty. Someone said Denver on fire. I saw that, but I don't know exactly what's going on. How long was I here? 37 minutes? All right. I'm not going to say too much. Karen said you brag so much about being the first to say this and that, and maybe a lot of people buy into it, but you get your stuff from other people. Yeah, I mean, in general, I think there's accuracy to that where I try to explain on certain levels, like I was early on it, but yeah, everything I know is from somebody else, so I guess you're technically right. When I was born, I didn't speak English. It's not like I invented the language. So maybe I should be more careful with what I say when I say, yeah, I was early on that. Was I the first person? No, I didn't invent English. I didn't discover America. A lot of people like RFK and others have, taught me things about liability, et cetera. So yeah, I try to give a lot of credit to people. I don't mean it literally when I'm like, I was early on that or I was first. Like, I guess I should use better wording or something because it bothers you, because I get what you're saying. Yeah, I don't know. Everything I know, I learned from somewhere else. There's certain things that my life experience I figured out, but I'm sure you could read some of the same stuff in like an old Greek mythology book. If you read people like Socrates and Marcus Aurelius and, books from hundreds, thousands of years old, the Bible, a lot of the ancient wisdom and knowledge is everywhere. And when it comes to all the information I know, I agree with you. I don't know that I create anything from thin air. I think everything I learn is like from either observation of social media, observation in the real world. And I'm grateful for people who educate me, just like hopefully people are grateful that I do the same. Someone said, I chose health in 2021, said Sarah. Gym and clean eating cured my 21-year-old detox of MS. No more meds. You helped inspire me. Lost 50 pounds and stronger than ever. Well, God bless you, Sarah. This is not medical advice, but I appreciate that. That's awesome. I've heard that so many times, and that means more to me than anything else. People are like, Anomaly, you're a gatekeeper. It's like, how many have you helped 30, 40 people, like, lose hundreds of pounds and get off medications? No, you just make videos and nobody watches them. I'm not hating, but it's like so many people want to say so much about me. I don't do what you do. I'm not you. I'm not just a news reporter. It's a bigger message here, and it works. So appreciate that. That's my favorite type of comment to get. It makes me feel good. Someone said, Anomaly, what do I think about the metaverse? Personally, I don't like it. Technology is here and probably here to stay unless we destroy everything and go back to caveman status. But in the hands of the wrong person, yeah, it's all like, it's hard to really put a tab on what they're talking about when they mean metaverse. But let's just put it this way. I've watched a few videos of Zuckerberg explaining what he has in mind. So right now we're in virtual reality. Someone said I'm a young boomer and I enjoy you. Thank you. Right now we're in virtual reality, but it's like I'm on video, you're watching, you're texting, like this is virtual reality. But it's like, it's more advanced than it was 10 years ago, but like we used to just text. Imagine telling somebody in 1989, yo, you're going to FaceTime. What does that mean? You're going to look like that's some Jetson stuff, like that's what like you're looking at someone on a screen. That didn't exist 30 years ago. That wasn't even a thing. So the metaverse is taking all this virtual reality and making it even realer. So I think what they're thinking right now for a starter is they have these iPhones that they bought from Oculus or Oculus Rift. It was a big business that Facebook bought. And now you strap these things to your eyes. And I've actually played them. That right now they're starting with gaming, and it's pretty realistic. You can move, you can like climb mountains. And I would say, I'm not like a professional gamer, but I've gamed since like Super Nintendo. It's definitely like the craziest thing I've ever played. I don't know that I'm like a huge fan of it. Like it's not something I want to do all the time. To be honest, I even find the games kind of creepy. If you fall off a mountain, I'm like sweating because it almost low key feels kind of realistic. Like you just fell off a rock climbing thing. So they're starting with gaming. Zuckerberg pretty much just said this. They're going to start with gaming, and then eventually they're going to try to build something else. So I think the metaverse, although it could, evolve into anything, it's like taking the virtual reality gaming that they're putting on your eyes and turning that into a social media, into something that's realer. So imagine a social media, like social media used to be AOL Instant Messenger. Okay, we're messaging people, text. And then email is instant messenger. Oh, we're emailing people. And then you have Facebook, and then you have live streams, and then you have Instagram live streams where you could bring somebody on the live stream. And then you have, and then you have the metaverse, which is taking social media and gaming and making it even more realistic and even more creepy. So I think that's the idea of where they're going. And it's almost inevitable because technology at this point seems to keep advancing. So, people were probably afraid of cell phones and stuff, rightfully so. And here we are. So that's kind of probably the easiest way to explain what the metaverse is. Nasty Pig said, you're the sexiest YouTuber of 2021, wink face. And your name is Nasty Pig with a pig avatar. I appreciate the compliment, but, I don't know if I should feel proud or embarrassed that it was a nasty pig who said so with a pig in the avatar. I don't know how to feel about that, so I'll just linger on it, but I appreciate it. Someone said, imagine being in the metaverse and your power goes out because your credit score drops too low. Well, they're already shutting people's power off because they're not listening to COVID restrictions. So yeah, all of this technology, I think it's important to try to preserve some sort of freedom and privacy. I don't know that we have any privacy anymore, but like, any ounce of freedom that you can obtain away from like the technocracy and the government is very important. So whether it be metaverse or social media, I think any bit of American constitutional freedom you can put in the way of that is very ideal. Are the SJWs in the metaverse? Yeah, in the metaverse, they all live on a rainbow mountain. So you have this rainbow mountain, and then they all run out of the rainbow mountain, and they're like, what's my pronoun? And then you just walk away, and you could just like walk away in like a warrior costume. No, I don't know. I have no idea. Someone said Bitcoin can be shut down. Some would say it could, some would say it couldn't, but I think what's true is like the technology surrounding Bitcoin could be, uh, there could be an issue with that. So can they shut down Bitcoin? I don't know. I get what you're saying though. I mean, they could hack every outlet that and bank that where you can hold Bitcoin, and then it's worthless. I think, there's definitely that could be on the horizon. But they could do that with banks and real money too. So I don't know. Everything is so fragile nowadays. It's like we have this complex world and it's all so fragile. I felt this way for a decade though. It's like everything runs on technology, internet. Like if something, is defunct for a long period of time, it could go haywire. I mean, they like purposely sabotaged us for 3 weeks. Think about how much damage that did. Someone said China banned Bitcoin already. I'm not an expert on this, but I believe China banned Bitcoin mining. So if I'm correct, in China, you just can't mine Bitcoins, but you can own them. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I believe. What's your pronoun? Will, yeah? I don't know. Your name sounds like pronouns, like yes, no, will, yeah. Your whole name is a pronoun, bro. You're just like, my pronouns are will and yeah. All right, we'll answer one more and I'll take off. Before I take off, I want to say a few things. I have links in the description to my Telegram, to my, my free email list. Those are 2 free things if you sign up. The Telegram chat is pretty convenient. I like that a lot. The email list is pretty convenient. I like that a lot as well. So check out that, stayintouchwithme.com. Do I play disc golf? I would, but I'm not. I'm a good athlete, but I'm not good at throwing the disc. I got to get better. When I throw it, it goes sideways. I'm not very accurate with the disc. So I enjoy disc golf, but I would say I'm pretty bad. I'm not good. And also these hats, the white hats are available at godblesshats.com or dreamrare.com. That's in the link as well. We also have sweatshirts and long sleeves, and they're limited edition. There's definitely under 100 of each. I don't know how many's left, like 70, 60, 50. I haven't really checked in the last week or two because I haven't done that many videos. But if you want those, we're not going to make them again. The Dream Rare hoodies have an anomaly stitched in the sleeve. Those are expensive to make, and they're also nice. The God is Great ones are nice too. The material inside is like very fuzzy and warm. So if you want to get those, they're going to be limited edition, and I would assume that they're either never going to be back or they'll be back next winter. I'm not going to print more come springtime, so check it out. Someone said small white hats laughing. I would say these are medium to large size hats, but not so large. It's like large would be sombrero. Large hat, sombrero. Medium hat, anomaly hat. Small hat would be the little yarmulke. The little yarmulke. I would say this is an average size hat. A sun hat would be a large. Someone said they fit my big head. Well, yeah, I mean, this should fit anyone's head. And the beanies are sold out, but those are pretty good too. Someone got mad at me on Instagram and like the beanies are sold out, but they were like, your beanie sucks. It only fits a kid's head. And I was like, okay, I'm sorry. You could get a refund if you want, but they're not even that small though. I have a big head and they're pretty big. So I'm like, how big is this guy's head? Or maybe he's just mad at me or something. Cause I don't know. If I got a hat that wasn't big enough, I don't think I'd be like, you suck. Like he probably was mad at like another video and he's like, you know what? You suck and your hat sucked too. And I'm like, it's not even true though. I got a big head and this hat, I purposely picked a bigger hat, but I guess everybody's got different heads. Maybe his head's so big that, it looks like a yarmulke on his head or something. He's got the biggest head. So he puts it on and it looks like a little yarmulke. And he's like, oh, damn it. I don't know. They come in all shapes and sizes, but I do what I can to accommodate. What time are we at? Hold on. Sorry. 49. All right. We'll take off, folks. God bless you. God bless your family. God bless America. God bless the world. And rest in peace, Betty White. I might have to rock my Golden Girl shirt today in memory of the legend, the amazing life of Betty White. Appreciate y'all. Check the links in the comments, and I will be back soon. barring unforeseen censorship circumstances, but should be good. Appreciate it. So I want to read this comment real quick. Someone said, I have a beanie and my small head and the beanie's way too big for me. I love it. Wouldn't trade it for the world. It's a good size. That's what I'm saying. I don't think he really thought it was too big or anything or too small. I think that guy was just like mad at a video. So he's like, your hats suck. Fuck, excuse me. F you, anomaly. I should have just clicked X. Now I almost dropped it. Whatever. All right. See you guys. Have a good one. I'll be back soon. I'll be back tomorrow.